Hey, this is T. Blankenship. Are you a fan of pie? Where there's pie at Permies.com. This pie grants the user secret access. You also get free things like videos of Wheaton Labs, the ability to add 2 thumbs up to posts, and more. To get pie, go to Permies.com/pie to get the inside scoop of what pie can do for you. Again, that is Permies.com/pie.
All right, it's recording. I think that the first thing I want to do is I want to apologize for yesterday and today because I've kind of been rummy and I don't feel like I got all my brains. And so I'm not, maybe this is a really bad time to try to record any kind of podcast. So, but I don't know. We're gonna walk up to the caldera again today, and we got a new topic for today. And so, yesterday I got to be reminded about how I am apparently a snake oil salesman. And that not only that, but apparently everybody knows that Paul Wheaton is a snake oil salesman. And I'm kind of thinking like, I'm not. You are. Stuff like that. My thoughts aren't very useful in that space. But this, of course, had to do with rocket mass heater stuff. So, and by the way, I'm here with Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
And so we're walking up to the caldera. All right. So I kind of felt like people trying to understand a rocket mass heater, and it's their first time hearing about it, that it's, I don't know, I'm going to guess it's mostly like trying to talk about certain branches of math, like mathematical matrices. Like when I was in college and we were talking about matrices and math, hell, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't like it at all. Oh, you think matrices are fun?
Yeah, like multiplying them out, it's so fun.
Yeah. But anyway, it's like, so there's a few different elements from the last few days that kind of help to navigate some of this. So one of the things is somebody was telling me about their nephew. And so before starting to record this, Katie and I agreed that we're going to name this person Waldo. We don't know what that person's name actually is. But let's just name him Waldo. So, all right, so Waldo could live with his family, gets on with his family just great, and could live with his family, but Waldo does not. So Waldo, I get the impression that Waldo might be like 21. And Waldo's got a job that pays really good. And Waldo rents his own place and makes his car payments, and his place is nice, and he's always broke. And of course, you know, I really don't know anything about Waldo, but there might be some entertainment most evenings, like going to a bar or going to a restaurant, or, you know, little something different all the time. And so I could see how if I tried to talk to Waldo about a rocket mass heater, he cannot hear it, because heat costs, I don't know, maybe for Waldo it's going to be $2,000 per winter. That's just what it is. And so you go out to your worky job, you get your money, and you pay for the heat. Everybody knows you got to pay for the heat. And yeah, you'd wish it didn't cost as much, but it costs what it costs, and you just pay it and move on with your life. So what's the point of talking about a rocket mass heater? We could try to talk about a garden, but what's the point? He's not going to do it. He knows how to spell the word garden. He knows vaguely what it is. And that's what old people do because they're bored. And he's not bored. He's got a packed life. So Katie's over here nodding a lot.
Yeah, you can see me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So all right. So far so good. I just kind of feel like, so I don't know. I suppose that if Waldo were to see something somewhere on the internet about, rocket man, it would sound like snake oil, I suppose. I mean, I think my own audience resists the idea of a rocket mass heater very, very, very strongly. And I have a bunch of reasons why I think that. And really, I mean, I thought it was bullshit until I saw it. Like in 2009, so I think it was in 2008, I had a guy sitting at my kitchen table telling me about it, and all I could think was bullshit. And so, but he was so insistent, and there was, I mean, he's a guest in my home sitting at my kitchen table. I finally decided, okay, I'll go and see it for myself, and I'll be able to say bullshit, and I'll have more data. And then I was shocked, because at the time, it was I believe January when I went, and at the time, I was heating my home with wood, and so just a wood stove. And I had a very good idea of how much wood I packed in and how much heat I got back. And so then I went to Ianto's place. In fact, another tie-in, because like another fascinating thing, he's got Cobbville, right, down there in Oregon, and beautiful place, just beautiful, a ghost town. And then the people that I talked to about community and living there and things like that, it just sounds like they find Ianto to be really, really, really cranky. And I kind of feel like, and I podcast 111, I'm sure you listened to it, you probably don't remember which one's 111.
No.
Why are our permaculture leaders such dicks?
I remember that podcast, even though I don't remember the number of the podcast.
Yeah, and it's basically, we make them that way, was the summary of it. And plus it's also relative, and it's like, and I kind of feel like the other thing is that if you're going to point at somebody and say that they're a dick, usually what that means is that I told that guy to do these things and he didn't do it. What a dick!
Yeah.
Am I close?
Yeah.
I think that normally, and I always want to say, like, can you call somebody a dick without being a dick? Is that possible? Can you ever utter the word without being a dick? Is it possible? Can you point to anybody and say that guy's a dick without being a dick? Isn't it dickish to call somebody a dick?
I do think that if, in any case where you wish to call somebody a dick because of their behavior, then perhaps that's likely to be what they also think of you. So
Ooh.
From their perspective,
it is
you're like, well, okay, yes, this is a mutual problem.
and really what you're doing is, well, that guy's a dick! What you're really doing is you're saying my standards and values are different than that person's standards and values.
Yeah.
That's kind of the subtext. All right. So now I don't know how the hell I got here, but we were talking about Waldo.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that if we were to talk about rocket mass heaters to Waldo, or if Waldo were to encounter something on the internet about rocket mass heaters, which is basically like, okay, so Waldo, you're spending $2,000 per winter on heat, but here's a way that you could heat for free, and using just the sticks that naturally fall off the trees in your yard. And I think it's fair that Waldo, without looking at it, will say, bullshit!
Yeah.
What a dick! things like that. And so it's kind of like, because Waldo doesn't get it, doesn't understand, it's too big of a leap. And it's like, in order, and on top of that, Waldo's going to have 47 different reasons, most of which he hasn't even put the time in to think about what those reasons are. He's going to have 47 different reasons to be like why he's not going to do that. And because he's not going to do that, he kind of feels like it won't work for anybody, which will end up being his words. Nobody can do that! That's impossible! So, all right. I think that the thing I'm really trying to get at with this podcast is the concept of the greatest impediment to solving global problems is Waldo's. All these people where it's like the things that are the solutions, they can't even begin to contemplate it. And really, when it comes to global problems, Waldo is convinced that none of these problems are his problem. I mean, granted, he drives a vehicle that uses gasoline, and he heats his home with something that has an environmental nightmare on the other side of whatever it is. He does things in a way that feed the monsters that he is complaining about. But he declines to take the time to think about those monsters because that would be inconvenient.
Well, also that you get born into the systems that you're in. So you are born into the normal culture that you started, and you start out from that perspective. So from his perspective, that's not possible within the system, and so it is not possible. And he doesn't, you don't start out understanding. This same person could be 20 years later a wonderful asset to permaculture and really have made a lot of progress. But at that moment, they can't see past the edges of their system. The systems that they're in, they didn't create them. They're just operating within them, just like they're supposed to. So they don't feel responsible for their output because they didn't create the system, which is kind of fair. At the same time, they are reinforcing it. So at some point, people say, I hate this. What can I do to make these systems better? These are very broken. It's clearly not sustainable. And so they start to say, well, what can I do? And they have to start out with what can I do inside the systems? Because for them, their whole world is inside the systems that they're used to, whatever it is for their culture. And so that's where the people start.
I think that is a good way to put it. Which is kind of what we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
They have momentum in the system that they're in now. And these other things, skip the skip program, any piece of it, even doing any part of it. Why bother? And then we could talk about, inherit property, and it's like, bullshit, liar, dick,
Well, they're so used to being scammed. It looks like a scam because it looks so good. It really is a good deal, but it's going to look like a scam unless you can believe it. So how do you believe it? Well, I don't know. It takes time, and they click on see proof, and they could come out and see it, but that's laying a lot on the line to get that proof for them. And then there's a million videos, and now you could probably make an AI video of almost anything that's going to look believable. So it's hard to know if it's true or not.
So this kind of comes back to the whole thing about how Ernie Wisner said, my mom told me that if you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. And so the rocket mass heater is, in its own way, a better mousetrap. Free heat. And not only that, but it solves a list of global problems. But there's no path being beaten to the door. But I was sure that after I first learned about it, and I took video of the rocket mass heaters there in Coquille at Cobbville, I would post those out to YouTube, which I did, and that would be the end of my contribution. That then people would know. And it would all take off, and those videos got hundreds of thousands of views. Yay! And then as I continue to travel my life, eventually I'll have a rocket mass heater, and I ended up going to more rocket mass heater events, including helping to make several of them happen at several different places and participating in them and stuff and getting more and more enthusiastic. Then I started making my own. But I thought that there would be so much progress and so much happening in the world of rocket mass heaters that my contribution would be all done. And I would then bask in the glow and how they're evolving and turning into so much more and things like that. Instead, it kind of, like, this isn't entirely true, but there's a lot of truth to it. It goes like this. Like, the moment I stop talking about it, it stops being talked about. Like, it kind of, I mean, it's not entirely true. There's still people doing things, but it kind of seems like the overall velocity of rocket mass heater stuff just stops. So it's disheartening to me because it feels like, part of me wants to say, like, wait, is this just a crazy thing? And it's like, I know it is not a crazy thing. We have got a bunch of them here, and we use them. And it is bizarre. Like, we heated this building with a few sticks, which we burned in an hour. And it's like, so it was like, 10 degrees outside. And so we burned a few sticks in an hour, and now we're very warm. It's like 75 inside. And it's like, wow, this is toasty. So it's kind of like, I've seen it work, and I've got so much experience with wood heat with a wood stove. I know it's heating with just a speck of the wood, and it's, I mean, I understand it now. I understand why. I understand how, and it's really ridiculously simple. And it's obvious to me, but of course I can see how it's not obvious to everybody. Okay.
So my understanding is that when you go to get a wood stove, let's say when you go to get a wood stove for your house, you basically look in the catalog, or you have the installer help you pick one out, or whatever. You
go
might
to the wood stove store.
Right. You never in your life expected, probably for most people, to build your own wood stove.
Right.
Like, that's not within the normal scope. You haven't even heard of anyone building their own wood stove. Maybe an artisan in a fancy, like, giant fireplace, but that's not a thing people normally do in your circle. And so the idea that you would have to build it yourself, even calling in a specialist, is like, well, you do that if you're fancy rich. Like, you might call in a specialist for a special fancy one they build themselves. But normally you're going to go to the catalog, probably, right, or the store that's in your area, and you're going to pick out what they have. So what I would sort of expect that would be within the system for a rocket mass heater would be that some big, giant fireplace corp would come in and make rocket mass heaters because they want to win the market with this super efficient heater. But it would be within people's standard system that they normally do, and it would just be in there and be like, this is the special model. And it burns like tiny sticks, and it has some special requirements, but it'll save you so much money. And it'd just be one of their models, and some corporation would make all the money from it because they would find a way to take it without giving any credit to people who created it. And that would be within the system. That's how our system works. But I haven't seen that happen, and I don't know when that happens and when it doesn't. I don't understand marketing or.
We kind of have a solution for that. So Sky Huddleston has the Liberator rocket mass heater, and then over in Europe they've got the Chimera, and those are great for heating a home. But like the Liberator, it really does well heating a home with pellets. Yeah. But it doesn't do as good heating a home with sticks. It's a little, it'll do it. But that's part of it too, is that he had to twist his designs in order to get UL listed. So he does have a UL listed, EPA approved rocket heater that can be sold, and so people can go buy it right now, and it's great. But it's like, in order to be able to fit within the laws, which are designed for wood stoves and not for rocket mass heaters, then he had to make some weird changes. And so something homemade is going to be better. Now, there are people that you can hire, but all right, we're kind of getting off into the woods here. I think the core, the focus of this podcast is Waldo, and it's like I kind of feel like the things that I advocate for, not only are they crazy to Waldo, but a lot of the things I advocate for are crazy to my own audience. They're too much. They're too wild. They're too big. And so I know that last fall, Mud and I finally got done with that heat infographic. And it took us 10 months to make it, because we're making sure we get a thorough bibliography. Like, we got every number has at least 2 sources. And so we've got it thoroughly researched. Everything is looked up. Everything is confirmed and verified. And then it's like, oh, finally, people will be able to see all these different types of heat and how they compare to a rocket mass heater, including stuff about insurance and building codes, carbon footprint, installation costs, whether it's DIY or professionally installed, and then, of course, annual expense, things like that. And so we made, it's an amazing infographic. I think it's excellent. But I told I sent it out to the monthly-ish, to 127,000 people. 30% of them opened it. So 70% didn't even open it. That's kind of normal. But okay, 30% of them opened it. And 3,000 of them went and looked at the document. And it's kind of like, wow. I don't know. I thought it was going to change everything. I thought it was going to make a profound difference with my own audience. But my own audience is kind of like, and on top of that, there have been times that I've talked to people who are very, very smart people, and they are permies. They're power permies. And when I bring up rocket mass heaters, it's like, I don't want to talk about rocket mass heaters. That's so boring. I don't care. And so it's like, well, wait, I thought you're all about the carbon footprints. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Well, this is probably the biggest carbon footprint, I don't know, maybe in the world. I know that there's some other stuff with really big carbon footprints that are really awful, but this could be how people heat their homes, and not even businesses, just their homes, I suspect is the biggest carbon footprint. I'd want to go and look it up in order to be able to be sure about that, but I think it's probable.
In cold areas. Right?
Well, definitely in cold areas.
Yeah.
But including all the warm areas, it could turn out to be that the biggest carbon footprint for the whole globe, including all of the globe, could be how those people in those cold areas heat themselves. Maybe. I'm willing to say that it's definitely for cold areas, but, does it still average out to being the biggest for the whole world, including the warmer areas? But, okay, all right.
Well, I wonder.
The thing is that I'm talking to somebody who's like very, very passionate about this space. But it's like, can't do it. I just don't want to talk about rocket mass heaters. I don't care. So it's like heating my home costs this much money and I just pay it. And so I don't know. It's kind of it's a bit of a Waldo thing, but it's even with our own community.
I wonder if it's a problem getting from point A to point B. They don't see any way to get to point B, which is a rocket mass heater. And so they're like, well, since there's no way to get from A to B, it doesn't help to talk about B.
There's a list of rocket mass heater builders on Permies. That might be of some help in getting from A to B. And granted, I've heard from some people that are talking about manufacturing a kit. And I have suggested to them that they do it as a Kickstarter, and that I suspect that my audience might have more than 100 people that would buy such a kit. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, earlier you were talking about a wood stove, right?
Yeah.
You go to the wood stove store and you say, I want that one. But then comes the whole thing of like, do you already have a hole in your roof?
Yeah. Do you have a chimney?
Because if you don't have a hole in your roof, are you going to have to put a hole in your roof? And that's got some DIY in it.
Yeah. Do you own your house? I assume if you're replacing your wood stove, you probably have some way permission to do that. Hopefully. So you don't get in trouble. I think there's a lot of barriers to being able to do that, and a lot of like, I can't deal with such a big project, because like we said, people are on this treadmill of being busy and not like they go to their worky job, they have their evening activity, their week is full, and then a big project like being heavily involved in the changing out of your heater or making a chimney in your house when there was no fireplace area before. Like, those are kind of big.
Sure.
Kind of intimidating projects.
All true. At the same time, I kind of feel like I will settle for a little bit of brain space. And that doesn't take any DIY level. The thing I kind of bring up a lot is when people start down this road, do you know, and so let me just ask you directly, do you know what a nuclear reactor is?
Well, in theory, yeah.
Okay. I mean, you don't have one in your house.
No, I hope not.
Okay. All right.
That'll be bad.
And it's not like you're going to build one this week.
No, thank you.
Okay. So, I mean, the thing is that you've got a vague idea of how it works.
Well, yeah, I do.
The nuclear bits get all hot, and they make the water hot, which turns into steam, and it runs a turbine.
Yep.
And then if it gets too hot, then they push it down into the water to cool it a bit, and stuff like that. And they might even change the water out to kind of put that heat out.
Yeah, how to get fresh water.
So, and then of course you know about what they do after too.
I don't love it.
Okay, but look at that. You have an opinion because you got some kind of idea what they do after.
I do.
So nuclear is taking up some real estate inside your head, even though you're not going to build a nuclear reactor inside your home probably ever. And you don't have access to any nuclear materials either.
No. I wonder what the marketing was like for nuclear stuff. I feel like they might have had a marketing push at the beginning.
Oh, that's a good point. There could have been some of that. Marketing push or not, you have brain real estate dedicated to what it is and roughly how it works and some of the downsides, and those and the math about it in your head is pretty accurate. It's not like you're saying, bullshit, what a dick!
Yeah, it'll never work.
Snake oil! It's like, no, you people are doing it. I mean,
yeah.
I'm doing rocket mass heaters, and there's a ton of people that are doing rocket mass heater stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's not like it'll never work. It works.
Yeah, you can come and see it.
I mean, like I don't know how many more ways we can demonstrate it. Like, okay, here it is doing this thing. And there's a video. Put the video up on YouTube. Here it is doing it this other thing. And it's like, okay, and put the video up on YouTube. And it's like, I don't know how many more. I mean, what are these people claiming that these videos are like just special effects? You know? Like,
I don't think so. Like maybe some people are because they just like to complain on the internet.
that is a plane that is really close to us. That is low flying.
This is right next to us practically.
That is weird.
There it goes, down the valley.
Maybe they're going to go put out a fire somewhere. There's a little bit of a haze in the sky. But that is a low-flying plane. Okay.
Little plane. Okay.
Yeah, look up for those mountains, plane. You're heading right for them.
Hey, this is T. Blankenship. Have you seen the new video of Wheaton Labs? It is permaculture awesomeness with all new and improved things like more rocket mass heaters, easy bake coffin, Willy Wonka, rocket cooktop 2.0, and the truly passive greenhouse. To see more, go to permies.com/tour. Again, that is permies.com/tour.
So if people had the catalog, so if more of the catalogs had the not as well, the pellet version or whatever of the rocket mass heater, and then we gradually get the laws changed so that the better, more efficient, the ones that did not have to be changed to fit the laws made for regular fireplaces and wood stoves. If we could gradually go down that road to make it part of the normal systems that people can do, then that's the moment where you need the marketing push to be like, this is here, it's amazing, you're going to save so much money. And then like that, but I think maybe if we start that with the pellety one, like maybe, I feel like people need it to be a really easy step, not like a big, huge step. But like a normal, like walk up the stairs step, like a normal stair away, one stair from what they're used to.
So I do feel like this kind of lands squarely on the Wheaton eco scale.
Yep.
And so the people that are saying that I'm selling snake oil, then I think that they're going to be a very strong level 0, level 1, and then. So of course this sounds crazy, and therefore it's snake oil.
And it's fun to yell on the internet. There's no consequences.
Oh, okay. I guess I don't feel like I anonymously yell on the internet.
Well, people who go like snake oil, like they love that. They're doing that for fun. Like that's great for them.
So all right. Back to the thing about my own audience. So I sent an email out to 127,000 people. I kind of thought that after all this work that, I would probably get, I don't know, something closer to 30,000, and then it would take off and it would become 100,000 and maybe 200,000, etc. Instead, it did 3,000, and then it kind of just stopped right there after 10 months of work. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, I don't know, I feel weird about it. And then, of course, to read this snotty stuff, everybody knows that Paul Wheaton is a snake oil salesman. Everybody knows. And it's kind of like, so yeah, part of me is kind of like, fuck it, I'm out. And, but I can't stop doing what I do. I keep going all the time anyway. But the big thing is that this thing, which is apparently snake oil, is working, and we've got other heat available, like in the Fisher Price house. But like last winter, that heater came on twice, and the reason it came on is not because it got cold inside, it's because it got too hot. It's a mini split, and so it says, oh, it's 95 in here, I'm turning on the air conditioning.
Oh no, don't do that.
Yeah, and that's because it's up high, it's mounted up high where the heat goes up, and we should do things to mitigate that so it doesn't but anyway, and there's sometimes when it's like it's the middle of winter and somebody's feeling like getting the heat up over 80 for some reason. And so then that activates the mini split to try to activate the air conditioner in the middle of winter. So, because the mini split's up high. All right. The thing is that, so we were talking yesterday about like where's my peeps? Why is it that there's not more people here now? And I think we talked about like the whole values thing, the whole no tobacco, no pot stuff, and then on top of that, there's also the whole, I guess what we're doing just seems crazy to even our own people. So even if they're like cool with the no tobacco, no pot thing, and we just, all of the things that we're doing at this time seem crazy.
Well, I wonder if they think that the rocket mass heater is crazy, or if they just like, that's true, but also I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. So it doesn't help me to look at it. Like, I wonder if they say, oh yeah, look how efficient it is. It is way more efficient. And also I'm not going to do it. And it's because, like, so what would get them from A to B? I think that the people who really understand it, it might not necessarily make it easy for them to do it.
Well, I mean, this is why we made the infographic.
Yeah.
Because it was like 2 years ago, I think, that I said, how do we get, there's this thing happening over in Europe. How do we get them to find out about rocket mass heaters? And we had tons of responses from our audience. And I would say there was probably, I'm going to guess, like 200 responses. And I would say 195 of those responses were something like, if you can just fix this one thing, that'll fix it for everybody. And then we will say, oh, we fixed that 8 years ago, here you go. Oh, well, what I meant to say is if you fix this other thing, then everybody would do it. Oh, we fixed that 5 years ago. Here you go. And then we don't hear from them. And the hilarious part is probably more than half of the responses in that thread were duplicates of the earlier responses saying, if you fix that one thing, then everybody would, So the thing is that we didn't get a lot of help with regards to, and then the really funny thing is we said, okay, we're going to make an infographic. That's going to solve everything. Who wants to look up this part, and we'll do this collectively? Nobody helped. And it was just me and mud. And so I do think that Bo looked up some stuff. He went and looked up some stuff and gave us, but in the end we had to go through all of Bo's stuff and double check all the numbers and stuff like that too. But okay. What we learned is that people have their, the thing in their head that's saying, I can't do a rocket mass heater because insurance. I can't do a rocket mass heater because apartment. I can't do a rocket mass heater because, and therefore it's not allowed any brain space in my brain. And so the infographic, what we learned is that once we solve a thing for somebody, then they have another thing, and then they don't want to talk about it anymore. So the infographic is like, here's a single document that solves 98% of the things that you can think of. And so can we now have a little brain space?
And people are not ready to change their habits. Changing habits is so hard, even if you believe it's a good idea. Just changing your habit from whatever you're used to, making any change can be so hard.
Well, that's true. That is definitely true. And plus, why learn about a nuclear reactor when you're not going to build one? So I think there's a lot of people who they don't like the opportunities presented, what a nuclear reactor is, and a lot of them are going to be like, I don't care.
Like I can't do that right now. I've got a lot going on. If I'm not going to build a nuclear reactor, I just can't hear about it right now. Even if they think, oh, that sounds like a good idea, that'd be so much energy for my house.
Okay.
Not that they think they should.
No, I mean, I like the one where it's like, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have time to try to understand what that is.
Yeah.
And it's like, and really, I think that's a huge part of the key. But the funny thing is that, on the internet, of course, that they have the time to say, bullshit! Snake oil! Apparently they have time for that, but they don't have time to try to actually understand the thing.
I'm not sure those are the same people. I think the people just want to yell on the internet, and you get a lot of those because that's their pastime.
Okay,
and they go
fair.
around everywhere they can. They're like, if I yell bullshit right here, I think a lot of people will agree with me, and that's what's fun.
So in a way, what you're saying is instead of them authentically thinking bullshit, they're saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me now, look at me, look at me, look at me. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah, that's fun for them. They want to poke something and then have it wiggle and yelp, and then they can laugh.
Okay. So now, kind of touching back to yesterday's thing. So we announced more than a month early, about come on out here for Rocket Week. And there's been so much interest, at least that's what I always kind of thought, that there was so much interest. I thought, we're going to be packed for Rocket Week.
It sounded really exciting. I was like, oh man, I wish I could go to Rocket Week. That was my thought when I heard that. I really want to build a rocket mass heater, so I want more experience with the process, if possible.
So I thought we'd be packed. I thought we'd be busy. I thought it would be like a zoo, and there'd be so much happening all at once and stuff like that. It would be, but the thing I was really looking forward to was having people come out and they rent a cabin that has a rocket mass heater in it. And granted, it's for the first full week of October, so it's not like right about then is when we get our first hard frost. And so it's cold enough that people running a rocket mass heater will get an idea of how well it works. But it's also warm enough so that, they're not, when they're outside working on things, because a lot of times if you're working on a rocket mass heater, you're not running it at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that room is going to be cold.
Right, you haven't built it yet. You cannot run it until you have built it. But there's so many here to see and experience.
Right, and I kind of feel like, really that's where it all boils down to is, I think I gotta commiserate with the people who say it's bullshit, because that's exactly what I did. It wasn't until I saw it and first-hand experience. Now, granted, the other thing is that before going out, I tried to find pictures and videos on the internet before going out because I was so doubtful, and there was nothing. So my video was the first video about rocket mass heaters on the internet. And I mean, that was kind of like the thing. As I'm there, there's 5 instructors and several of us that are there to attend the workshop. And as I'm experiencing this, and I say, why don't more people know about this? And they're like, I don't know. We tell anybody who comes by. And so it's like, okay, well, we got to somehow... And I thought, if I just put this video up, it'll get 100 million views as people are learning about this, and then it all goes wild from there. And I was wrong. It did get hundreds of thousands of views. That's pretty cool. And things have evolved a lot since those builds and stuff too. There's so much more new stuff. But okay. I guess the thing is that I got to be cool with there being a lot of people. Although I do I feel a little pissy that my own audience is. I mean, that's the other thing too, is that there's not people coming out for Rocket Week, and so I mean, there's still time. It could happen. People listening to this podcast could come out, but of course they got their own worky jobs, which is kind of what we're talking about. I would imagine that more than 90% of the people listening to this pod, maybe even 98%, that they listen to this stuff during their commute. That's my guess. I mean, I don't really know, but I suppose I should try to learn, but I don't want to.
Hey, wait a minute. That sounds like what you didn't like enough.
Yeah, that would be a smart thing, but it's like, I don't know. Rather than learning about how many people are listening to the podcast and where, my focus is on bigger gardens, more food produced, and optimizations to rocket mass heaters, and Wofati stuff, and Gertitude, and things like that.
So are you saying that you're like being an inventor rather than being a marketing team, generally?
Yeah. I think another part of it is I'm getting older, and I'm getting pissier, and it's kind of like, there's a lot of, I just don't wanna. I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like, there's people listening to the podcast, and I don't know how many that is, and I don't know when they're doing it, but there's some, and so I'm doing it, and it's good enough. Plus, there's that whole thing about the 12. I'm not sure if you remember this because you've listened to so many podcasts, but I've gotten a few emails over the years that where they were kind of phrased something like, as I travel day to day in my life, I feel like I am immersed in an ocean of gray people or cattle or something. Like all these people do not understand permaculture, and yet this is where I exist. This is where I live until they listen to the podcast, my podcast. This is the email that they're sending to me, and that now, for a moment, they kind of feel like somebody gets it. There's at least one person in the world that, and I confess, sometimes there's a book or a movie or something, and I feel like the person who created this gets it, and it's like, what a relief, because I thought I was the only one. So I kind of feel like there's 12 people listening to this podcast that are like that, where, I don't know, they're like, at least there's one guy, who gets it. And so so I keep recording the podcasts. I keep making the podcasts for those people, for those 12 people. I mean, I know there's a lot. I mean, I think that the podcasts get downloaded something like 10,000 times or more the last time I checked years ago, but maybe it's less now too. I don't know.
There might be more than 12 people. But it's hard to know because if they don't, pod people don't usually speak up. It's really like one way. Like they listen to that guy. That's the deal. And that's not something you always hear back from. Like you don't necessarily hear back from people who listen to your podcast. Sometimes you do, but a lot of times you don't. And so it's hard for you to know if they value it, if they want you to keep going, how much it might mean to them. You might not ever hear that. And it's a long road. It's nice to be encouraged when you do hear from people like, this means a lot to me. I'm glad you're doing this. Like, this is soul building that this exists. Like that, it would help fuel you wanting to do it more and making it a priority over a lot of the other things you're trying to do.
So, I don't know, there've probably been 20 people here who have told me that they've listened to nearly all or all of my podcasts. And they can recite bits. I have met some people that said that they listened to them all, but they must have listened to them with the volume off or something, I'm listening, and because when I try to talk about a thing I've talked about in podcasts, what does that mean? I don't understand. And it's like, I've talked about it like 7 or 8 times in the podcast. Nope, I have no memory of it.
When I first listened to the podcast, I skipped through all the rocket mass heater stuff because it was so far out of my wheelhouse. I hadn't done any construction stuff really yet. I hadn't built a birdhouse even. I I started to learn to do some of those things, and after that I could be like, oh, I make things sometimes in the shop. Maybe I could learn about making this thing because it sounds like it has a really cool effect. But at first it was just like, it was just too much for me, and I wasn't going to get as much out of it, so I went to the next one because I garden, so I want to get to the ones about the garden. Because I was learning a lot about that. It was exciting. I was like, okay, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to skip ahead and then get to the part. So that could be happening for some people that are just not real handy, or not right now anyway.
So first I'm kind of thinking like, well, you're in Hawaii. I would think that my garden stuff would be of zero value to somebody in Hawaii. Although there was that weird time when I kept getting asked to come speak about horticultural stuff in San Diego. And I kept thinking like, man, it's such a different climate. Why would you want me to speak? You should get somebody who's like, I don't know, more savvy about San Diego's climate. But, okay, all right. Skipping past the horticultural differences between Hawaii and Montana, I do, to me it all fits together. And of course, so I live in Montana because it's the best. And I live near Missoula because it's the best. And I live on a slope because that's the best. And now granted, this property we're walking on right now is a giant rock. But hey, the lab is quieter and also deep alluvial soils. And that's the best. And it does take time to build the soil in order to be able to grow the most glorious gardens. And for that, you need to have water, which we now have. And so we're now building soil like 10 times faster than ever before. Yay! And so, I don't know. I have a bunch of philosophies and weird ideas and things like that. And I thought there would be more people here, and we would all be doing this together, and yay, but, oh well, here we are. We're doing what we're doing.
There are wonderful people here.
Oh, yes.
Just not as many as it would be fun to have way more.
Yes, that. And I know all these things that I've created here are the things that I wanted to have created for me many, many years ago when I was looking for a place, and then I realized I guess I'm going to have to, because I kept looking and looking and looking and not finding a place that's a fit for me.
You mean like an intentional community place?
Yeah, an intentional community, and I found I ended up at a place that was, they labeled themselves as a intentional community for permaculture, but it was not. And so I wasted a year of my life there, but I learned what do I need to do so that people won't come here and waste a year of their life here. I don't know. Okay. Waldo. I think that, so earlier today I was whining about the Waldo factor. And one of the things that came up was the idea of somebody else's daughter, and it was like the daughter doesn't understand permaculture and so it's like, Mom, you're crazy, and so then I said, well, what if you went to your daughter's house and built a raised bed in her yard and planted it with a monocrop of strawberries? Because the cool thing is the strawberries will probably get by with zero care, provided, of course, you mulch them properly with straw, organic straw. And then the daughter would see the strawberries when they're ripe and then pluck them and eat them and be like, it would begin. It would start. So, at the same time, I had many suggestions a year or two ago about, okay, if I want to draw people into the empire, one of the things to do would be, rather than making like videos on YouTube about gardening level 100 or gardening level 400 or gardening level 700, to instead make a video that's about gardening level 001. And I kind of spent some time talking about it and thinking about it and stuff like that, but I never did make that video. And frankly, I don't know, I'm not super excited about it. I want to do the bigger things. And I kind of feel like surely there's got to be a lot of people out there already doing that kind of stuff. And then people are like, no, there's not. There's a lot of videos out there about gardening, but it's like SEO gardening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like they're trying to, their video is doing well, not because their content is good, not because they have good advice or they've done a great job, but it's entirely because somehow they're charming the YouTube algorithm. And I thought, that is interesting. Okay, all right. But then if I go and I make videos that do this, then those videos will get 1 million views and mine will get 1,000. That doesn't sound like that's a good use of my time either, because they're doing all the SEO stuff. So I don't know. It's hard to get inspired for something like the whole infographic. We spent 10 months on it, and hardly anybody's looked at it. So I kind of to go out and do big projects and make big things only to have them be largely ignored doesn't sound like a good time. So, all right. I think we're back to the same kind of silly scramble that has been everything for the last 19 years. So someone was pointing out recently that the first post at Permies was 19 years ago. So I don't know, just keep doing the same thing I've been doing for 19 years, and that is, make the best of it. Just keep doing whatever seems to be the most important thing and trying. Although we did put a lot of work into the theme week thing, and it is a little sad that we're not exactly being overwhelmed. And we've got the ringers too, so we've got ringers lined up to come out here for some of the weeks. We thought people would want to rent a cabin when the ringers are here, and then we'd be building experiences about certain things, but that hasn't worked either. So damn.
I don't know.
So part of me is like, we built all these structures with the idea that we're going to build community and thus build a perennial permaculture, and it turns out I was wrong. I
wonder how much is economic and like exhaustion level. I think things are a little bit hard for people right now, in a lot of times. I mean, a lot of places, and it's harder to come out anywhere during more difficult times.
Okay. Well, like, I know that some fancy musician was in Missoula recently, and apparently 40,000 people. The population of Missoula is 85,000, but 40,000 people turned out to see this musician.
Yeah, but for like
and they paid
hours.
More than $1,000 a ticket.
Wow.
To see this musician, and I'm kind of thinking like, whoa. And then of course there's people who go to college. Apparently there's something like, I want to say 10 million. On any given year, there are 10 million college students.
Yeah.
And it's like 10 million's a big, big number. And so it costs a lot to go to college, and it takes a lot of time to go to college. And so then, I don't know, how is this all that different?
But going to college is within the system, and going to concerts is within the normal system. They are not
true.
having to even step up one step to do those things.
All
they
true.
know what to expect. They just, it's within the realm of normal. I think coming out and doing a workshop is really cool. How do people normally do workshops in normal realms? Like they're getting referred from their colleges. They're getting it part of their professional system. It's part of existing systems. Yeah. So you have to sort of make this happen yourself. You have to be like, I'm doing something really different, and I'm going to make it happen. And that is a really cool thing to do. But I think it's a barrier for people. Like, it just makes it a little outside of what's normal.
So, I have a kitten biting my hand that's holding the microphone. Did you know this thing in the microphone's called a dead cat?
Oh, no.
It's a dead cat. There it is. It's attacking you.
It's dead.
All right.
It's fluffy.
Yeah.
It's appealing to kitten.
Yeah. So, why are you wanting to bite my thumb?
Delicious thumb.
Yeah, so good. All right.
Teething.
I think that I think we've kind of covered it. It is frustrating. It is annoying. It is whatever it is, and I don't know. And of course, when we talk about the Wheaton Eco Scale at level 5, there's like when comparing level 5 to level 0, I believe at level 0 there's 100,000 times more people. I'm not sure if I got that math right, but so it makes sense that if I'm gonna, if there's gonna be a conversation happening online about a rocket mass heater, that whoever's talking about a rocket mass heater is going to be outnumbered 100,000 to 1. And so, damn, that sucks. Ooh, and then add into that how, and it seems like at the staff at Permies.com we talk about this fairly regularly, because of course there's some unkind stuff that gets posted to Permies.com which is immediately removed. And the thing that we regularly regurgitate is 1 person in 5 it needs serious mental health care help. And so, and of course, there are some places where that is not, it's allowed to go wild. And so and I think that if you've got 1 person talking about rocket mass heaters and 100,000 people that are against it or don't know or whatever, I think that this kind of response is relatively fair. I mean, I wish they wouldn't call me a snake oil salesman. I don't think I'm a snake oil salesman. I feel like I'm an engineer. And
you don't sell any kind of oil, for starters.
That is so true. That is so true. So, but I do understand what they're trying to say, and I think it's mean and uncalled for, and at the same time, I think that really what it is they don't understand the stuff that's being suggested. The stuff that they're responding to is snake oil salesman stuff. So. I think it's ignorance. Their ignorance makes them say that. But okay, all right. Anyway, I think that's all I got to say about this one. You got anything else to add?
Let's see if.
Oh, you want to record the cat purring?
I don't know if I can. Okay. It might be too quiet.
If you like this sort of thing, come on out to the forums at Permies.com, where we talk about Waldo, homesteading, and permaculture all the time.
Hi, this is Mark. There are a lot of reasons to get angry these days, but I prefer to focus on the positive things that we each can do to make this world a better place. The book, Building a Better World in Your Backyard, Instead of Being Angry at Bad Guys, is a great resource for just that. Instead of throwing my arms up in frustration at governments or big corporations, there's a list of ideas that we each can tackle to affect change. Information about this book and other resources can be found at Permies.com.